Hi, I'm Smriti Kiran.
And I'm Kalpana Nair.
Welcome to Storytellers Are Us, the origin story.
Today, our guest is filmmaker Prateek Vats, whose last film, Eeb Allay Ooo, swept the awards at Jio MAMI Mumbai Film Festival.
Eeb Allay Ooo won the Golden Gateway Award, the Young Critics' Choice Award, and a special jury mention for actor Shardul Bhardwaj. A few quick facts about Prateek.
Prateek Vats graduated from FTII in 2012. His debut documentary, A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings, was based on the life of Mr. Universe Manohar H. It screened at the Jio MAMI Mumbai Film Festival in 2017. His next film, Eeb Allay Ooo, also played at the Jio MAMI Mumbai Film Festival and later went on to screen at the Berlin International Film Festival. Eeb Allay Ooo was also part of Jio MAMI's selection at the pioneering We Are One, a global film festival, where it garnered a record-breaking 145,000 plus views in just 24 hours.
Prateek, welcome to Storytellers Are Us, the origin story.
Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you very much.
Prateek, now we are going to just wait for Zoya to come in. I think she should be here.
Hi.
Hello.
Listen, we are so glad you're here. We finally thought that the pandemic is still on. The virus is going nowhere. It's time that you and Prateek met. That's Prateek Vats. That's Zoya Akhtar.
Yeah, I am so happy to meet you because I have just gone mad after seeing your film, which I've watched twice now.
Wow.
I absolutely, I loved it. And I have to say, I knew nothing about it the first time I saw it. Like nothing, I didn't even, I'm going to sound very foolish, but I thought that the title was in another language. So, I was just like, okay, so this is a film in another language and I'm going to watch it and I'll figure what it is. And it started, and in the first scene, I was like, oh my God. And it's very rare to come across Indian stories that you know nothing about. That hasn't happened to me in a very, very, very long time. And maybe I'm not a Delhi girl, so I didn't know anything about this job function to chase the monkeys. I know the monkeys and Latins because I know that, but I didn't know this existed. So it just blew my mind. And then it went into being this complete statement on reality and on the state of contemporary India. And it's such a hard hitting take, and it's done without any cynicism, any bitterness, any overt hammering. So I would like to talk a bit about that. I would like to talk about the aspect that starts off as being, like a satire and stuff, and then it just like grabs you. And at the same time, you haven't hit home. Like, was it a conscious decision to keep it like subtle, or just let's talk about a bit about how you've kept the bitterness out?
Yeah, because there is a lot of bitterness and anger in me personally right now, given the state of affairs. And but we were very clear that the film didn't have to carry that baggage. And that is the whole point of us being filmmakers, that what is our take? The situation is bad, but we are nobody to change it or whatever. So what is our take on it? And like me and Shubam very early on decided our take would be more like a Dario Fo, burlesque and farcical, because the situation to us seems in a sense very farcical right now. The kind of the kind of institutional mechanisms that are being put to handle a impossible situation, and who's getting screwed is all these people who are trying to execute this. It's not their fault. It's just strange kind of jobs that are coming up, and that this whole problem of Lutyens Delhi and monkeys there to us sounded like it can only be a satire. Yeah. It cannot be, we're not saying which is good or which is bad. We're just saying this is a very funny situation where, this is such a secure building, and shooting there is, I don't know if you've ever shot around that side. It's like shooting in a war.
No, we did for Laksh ages ago.
Yeah.
When Farhan was making Laksh. So we have worked there. My parents were both in the Rajya Sabha. So I have actually spent a lot of time living there. Every time I went to Delhi, I lived there. So I know the monkey and the peacocks that visit and all. It's quite gorgeous. Yeah.
No, that's what, when we were used to take a camera there, things would suddenly because we're trying to frame the monkeys. Now we are trying to explain this to the security that we are not interested in breaching security. We just want to capture that monkey in a nice close up, and that would take, like, it was hilarious. The whole thing, the making of it also was hilarious. So I think that is the spirit we wanted to keep. We were just discussing it. It's more of an invitation to discuss and talk, and
Yeah.
rather than me telling you what I feel is correct or what
Right.
you tell is correct or something like that. So
Yep.
that flavor was very important for us, because anyways it gets into an overbearing sort of thing towards the end. So otherwise, if we would have taken that approach, then it would have become a very, heavy and tedious film.
Yeah.
We didn't
No,
want.
no, it was a very, very fine balance. Coming to what you just said, so the monkeys, you just went there, sat with your camera, and waited. Is that how you shot them?
Not really. Matlab, we'd spent a lot of time, me and the writer
Uh,
Shubham, so along with the people who do this work. So we'd spend 2, 3 months, like, sort of work, moving around with them and figuring out patterns of movements of monkeys. And they would tutor us how to preempt, how to predict, how to map out the movement. So while making our schedules and all, we were very critical. कि सुबह को बंदर उधर होते हैं तो उधर करेंगे,
uh,
prepare ko by that time they would have moved in this direction, so we need to figure out how to schedule all of that, so because that was a lot of fun.
but then when you were cutting, when you were using the character Anjani and him interacting with the monkey, which was shot separately, like it, which was cut one, not an OS. At that time, you used from all the footage of the monkey you had, you decided the reaction to that particular scene on the edit, or you knew what you wanted the monkey to be like before you got into the scene.
In principle, we knew what we wanted.
Hmm.
So a lot of times it was a mixture. So sometimes we would shoot the monkey first and then get, you know
Right,
tutor Shardul's sort of responses towards them.
right,
Sometimes we knew, because in terms of the script, okay, right now there has to be a point where Anjani is sort of hits a monkey, like
right.
uses catapult. So thankfully that monkey was so wonderful, and it was giving us all the things we needed, and that kind of putting up the thing. And so it just helped in creating all the humor.
Right.
And these are the kind of things which would otherwise make it a very violent and dark film, if you have illustrative violence and, that kind of a
No, no,
thing.
absolutely.
So it countered very well. Of the main thing was trying to match the lensing when we were cross cutting or cutting back and forth.
Yeah, yeah,
We also then tried to avoid mostly where our actors were there. So short counter shot was
yeah.
more with the monkeys, just to create this kind of context of, otherwise why you were National Geographic Discovery type. We didn't want to keep cutting away to monkeys and coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you have certain scenes where you have him with the when he's on the trash can,
yeah,
when the
yeah,
monkey's on the trash can and he's there. So you have a context, but they're both in frame.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
uh, and also, but there's something wonderful about the fact that they can't harm the monkeys. You know, it's a very heartening reality that you shoo them away, but you can't harm the animal. And you just wish that that same care is now transferred to the humans. It's very weird. So there's one part of you that's feeling, oh, thank God, that animals are not going to get harmed. And then you realize that the character died, and the crowd, because he accidentally killed a monkey, and so it's just such a weird feeling where you see the value of human life is just not there. So you're quite thankful that the monkeys are being protected. So it's quite a,
Yeah, that's the thing. The people with guns there are for the people and not for the monkeys.
yeah.
That is the basic essence of it. And people are interchangeable and all that, and there'll be institutional mechanisms around monkeys for
But
that.
I think people are anyway more evil than monkeys. So
Of course, it's not about people or
yeah,
monkeys. It's about how we calibrate our response.
yeah,
So it's like students getting the same kind of cases that otherwise a terrorist would get. Then you say there's a problem here.
of course,
It's not which party is in power. There's a problem.
of course.
There's a reason why students are students, and there's a reason why workers are workers. And so it's that kind of a response which sort of, like you said, no, it's heartening to know that these kind of mechanisms can exist. This kind of
Yeah,
sensitivity towards not hurting the animal can exist. So I think we can devise similar things for people also. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
uh, you know, so
Yeah.
violence has to be somehow. I mean, this has to go. Otherwise, how do we solve anything?
No, no, I am not for violence at all. Have you
No,
seen?
no, of course.
Rhetorical.
I don't get violence at all. I'm not for it at
Absolutely.
all. Like I totally hear you. There's one scene that really stays with you is when they're putting up the cage, and they, as a joke, trap him in the cage when he's in there to put the bananas in. I mean, they're playing those guys around. They're just messing with him, you know, and it deeply affects him. And he comes out, and then you see the monkey going in, and the monkey gets trapped in, and then you cut to a shot of uh, the lead at that point. Do you understand what I'm saying? After the monkey gets trapped, you cut to a shot of him.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what you were thinking at that point.
See, overall, we were trying to do a couple of things
Hmm.
fundamentally. One was we knew there's a lot of non-fiction elements in the film. There's a lot of reality that we'll be dealing with,
Hmm.
in terms of the people, in terms of the locations, in terms of a lot of things. So we were constantly figuring out how to devise a design.
Hmm.
What will be the design of this reality?
Hmm.
So in terms of color or lensing and things like that, there will be a long conversation with me and Somo and trying to figure out. As for this second part was very important was this man monkey transference,
Hmm.
without making it metaphorical. So it wasn't supposed to be a metaphor for anything. But the fact that Anjani is in a cage, then monkey is in a cage, but we choose to end the scene with Anjani because it is his story. We are sensitive to animals or whatever, but it is not the monkey story.
Hmm.
So that idea of how we keep monkey and Anjani together, because in the end he had to become a monkey.
Hmm.
First after that Republic Day, and now again right at the end with that whole procession. So that sort of slowly we wanted to keep, monkey and Anjani and monkey together.
Hmm. Because he kind of comes into his own in that costume.
Yeah.
You
He,
know, he finds like an abandon that he doesn't normally have once he dons that costume. You know, what was interesting to me in the film is the women. They are all extremely strong, from the sister, the love interest, even the gynac, the doctor. They're really tough. And was that a conscious choice on how you wrote the women?
see, the basic idea was again not just to trying to create situations and circumstances for scenes which would reveal sort of different layers of characters. The problem becomes when we sometimes plot only dictates what a character will do,
Hmm.
or vice versa, there is no plot and only the character is deciding. We sort of wanted to have like this thing of a power tool like a gun disrupting the balance of a home. So
Hmm.
how do you respond to it? How do you respond to your salary being increased and you being given a gun? So I
Hmm.
think that kind of situations automatically will create more nuanced characters. And also in all our research and what we were doing and spending time in the bustey and meeting a lot of people, most of the women characters had a lot of agency. They weren't subservient. So we just wanted to keep agency with people and have them as working women and have them with their own sort of struggles, which was not being defined by the husband or the brother or any
Hmm.
other kind of character in their life.
And it's good to watch that stuff, and like get it reinforced again and again. And coming to Shardul, where did you find him? He's incredible.
Yeah. See again, he studied at the same film school at FTI, and but I know him since Delhi theatre days. So he was in the same theatre group as I was, but after many batches afterwards. So
Hmm.
I'd seen him perform on a play many years back, and I just thought he was a very special kind of an actor.
Hmm.
And in this film, he sort of then I'd done one workshop with him when he was still a student at FTI. I'd gone for the batch.
Hmm.
So you just feel some actors have that kind of thing, no? That they call with all their rough edges and all their misgivings, they still because they have that kind of what do I say, a face, the eyes, there's something in the body, and there's certain kind of sincerity towards approaching your work.
Hmm.
So that's been a very good mixture. and we really put him through hell. We really, it was tough. It was really
So
tough.
what was the process? Like, what did you do?
So first of all, we got him on board about 2 3 months before the shoot, 2 months at least, and that during that time it wasn't to do really with okay, tera character ye hai and background and all that, but we were just trying to like first of all declass yourself, because he comes from a certain middle class, English honors, Delhi University, so he carries all that with him. So that had to go. So instead of workshops and anything, he was actually going around with Minder and figuring out what happens and just living it. We
Hmm.
told him not to observe, just, and I gave him one book to read, which was it's something I like. So apart from that, he was just spending a lot of time in those areas, just trying to figure out uh, living it rather than just sort of observing it.
Hmm.
And as we got closer to the shoot, then according to the kind of scenes we had, we would rehearse a lot. There will be like long rehearsals with, say, Naina, him, or the sister, and things like that, where we would try to figure out different ways of approaching a scene and then decide on what was most suitable to the film.
Hmm.
With with him, like it was nice with him or Naina, or the girl who plays the sister or the brother-in-law. Again, you push them, they'll improvise, they'll do something, but they'll also have an understanding of the medium. You know what a lens is, what if you have to choreograph something particularly for a shot, it won't hinder them in their sort of realism. And anyways, we were trying to say, okay, let's not just stick to realistic. How do we create a real fight? How do we create a real kind of argument? Which doesn't have to be just status game in terms of one is high, one is low. What is the stake? We're always trying to figure out that कुछ मजेदार कुछ play करेंगे ना. Even if it's because the script with the gun coming in and all would keep becoming more overbearing. We just wanted to puncture all that tension with this kind of realism.
So was there a lot of ad lib through your work, through your readings and stuff?
See, mostly with the trained actors, no. With Mahinder, yes. You
Right.
know, so we would like really not like to bind him in dialogues, but we would tell him what has to be said.
He was
And
very good.
yeah, he
He's
was.
very, very good.
Yeah. No, he was brilliant because the moment he sort of understood what we would try and tell him, and he's again a very busy person. So we had like just dealing with like a big actor, you have 3 hours. You bloody well finish that scene with all the coverage because he has to go to some MP's fancy house to do his job. So that was always again. So we would again spend a lot of time with him, talk a lot, just trying to understand. And then see the scenes were closer to what he's living in life.
Hmm.
He was familiar. But
Hmm.
again, because it was such a, in a sense, a dramatic script, so he had to, say a few things which were critical. It couldn't be just ad-libbing. But with other actors, not so much. At some places, yes,
Yeah.
but within the house and all, because otherwise scenes would keep becoming longer and longer, which was
Right.
then pulling the pace down.
But your writer is superb. It's very well written. He's done the dialogues as well, Shubham.
Yeah, so Shubham's written the story. Me and him have done the dialogues, and but he was also like the production designer of the film. He's also like associate director in the film. He's just done a lot of work. It's not just again he's writer, but for him, I think he got scared that they will not be able to pull this off. What I've written, so he sort of got himself involved in everything. That was really paying dividends because me and Shubham were very clear about what all could be achieved with the monkeys. Other people hadn't spent so much time, so they would be okay, nahi itna kya karna hai, and we knew what could be achieved, and that sort of gave us that liberty to push our other scenes as well
Hmm.
in humor or in the kind of so meanderingness of the whole thing. So that's why we knew that we could take liberty of stretching time with something like the gun when that guy is coming back with the gun.
Hmm.
Stretch time because you created the space for yourself by packing it up with monkeys and the humor and everything. So
Hmm.
it just sort of then gun can enter and it's not just a prop. It is one can feel the weight of it. It's a big gun. It's not
Yeah.
because again, like you said, no, women characters is something else, but even the men, that hyper masculinity associated with the gun and all that is something. Again, it's one of the most terrible legacies of cinema I think we have. It just this whole idea of a gun and a man and what they both become.
I know what you're saying, but I just love gangster movies. I know what you're saying. I totally agree with you, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I can keep watching them like a mad person. They are the films I end up watching repeatedly. I mean, yeah.
For me, it's always been a question of a craft, because see, anything done well in terms of they have a way of, saying a lot of things rather than just the
Mhm.
imagery of a person with a gun. We wanted to just put our gun is in a house which is, dealing with some other things only in their life. They wouldn't know what to do with a gun. This instrument of power when their life is actually pushed to
Yeah.
market every day. So it'll destabilize, and that's what we were willing to do because that's the power of the gun in our film, which is about monkeys and funny film, this and that. Let this gun come, and without firing, can it destabilize? This whole world that we've set up in the first half. So I think that
No,
worked.
but it does, and it's also such a tiny space, and it's a really big gun. So there's the presence of that object is large in that space. But then you've also used it because everybody in the film bullies who they can. Everybody bullies who they can in the film, and everybody is kind of servile to who they have to be. And when the guy who is buying the goods from the wife, from the sister, starts harassing her because she's going to be slightly late because they don't have electricity, and he's rude to her, the husband pulls it out
Yeah.
and uses it, and so that was very interesting. And then that's the end of that story because that's what her fear was, and it's going to get there, and it gets there because that's how we are just constructed to behave in this society with people. And what was also interesting was the Anjani character actually had a sense of identity, and he had a sense of who he was. And when the film starts, and what he wants and what he doesn't, and what he likes and what he doesn't, and what is fair and what is unfair, till he's kind of beaten into dealing, and being told he shouldn't speak. So that was also he didn't start off as somebody who was just like Saab, you
No,
know.
for a while.
Absolutely. It had to be this entitled person, no, where a young boy coming from, "Okay, I'm entitled to a few things. This is my right." It sort of goes one day at a time now, where you realize I am not entitled to anything, and it takes a while to
Yeah.
adjust. And that was the whole thing, that pity was not something we were interested in there actually. This whole idea of creating sympathy by making vulnerable characters
Mm.
is an easy trope, is something which has been done a lot, and I think it's also limiting,
Mm.
because like Coen brothers do that so wonderfully in Inside Llewyn Davis. The character, our protagonist, without doing anything nice, all our sympathies with him. I don't know how they do it.
Mm.
It's just the making, that craft, that devising of scenes, that plotting of the scenes after one
No,
another.
it's also the humanity, because who is doing everything correctly in life
Absolutely.
around you, including you? I mean, everyone's kind of messed up. It's just a different degree. So you enjoy characters that are flawed because they're closer to you.
It's that imperfections, no? Otherwise, these are conceptual characters. They're not real people.
Yeah.
And the flaws that you're talking about is what really embellishes. It makes a person 3D and situations 3D and goes beyond judgment. Like, so Anjani is a prick also, no, when he shouts at Kumud in the cyber cafe because she's trying to talk some sense, because
Yeah.
Arman feels, no, I am, because again, she's below me, I can shout at her. Because in the whole film, he doesn't do that to anyone.
Yeah.
And the brother-in-law feels the ठेकेदार is lesser than him, so he will pull the gun on him. Every Delhi की film है ना, तो hierarchy तो होनी पड़ेगी बहुत सारी.
Yeah. Good. So what are you doing next?
It's more of a writing phase right now, just trying to better a draft of the script, which is, but yeah, it's good time also. Yeah, there's no rush right now because I realize in the last 6 months that my rushing is not changing anything at all in anybody's lives. So I think I'll take some time to just finish this.
Nice.
Zoya, I had a question. I mean, I know there are no answers right now to this or a solution to this, but there are so many films, and you know that there are so many really good films, including Prateek's film, that don't have a life right now, in the sense that they're going to festivals, whichever festivals are happening online, but there's no space right now, even on OTT platforms. We've recorded three.
Right.
I mean, in the sense that, the deals have not happened or materialized, or it's a very difficult thing to actually get it out there. Do you see anything? Do you have any thoughts about how possibly, something can be created, or there can be a space where at least films like this have a life?
It has to be seen. So let me think about this. I'm not just saying that. I will. Let me talk to a couple of people.
But thank you, Zoya, for coming on the show.
Not at all. I have one more question. How
Yeah.
did you find out about these people, like this job function? Or is it something that because you're from Delhi, you know?
I think 2014 it was. I'd read in the newspaper about Mahinder. It was like a profile of him. A kind of an odd job situation where this one is doing this. I just found it fascinating. It was that immediate kind of pull. I cut out that article, kept with me for 4 years, just trying to figure out how to frame this. Because this was such a unique thing. I needed a backdrop and a canvas to fit this. Otherwise, again, it would have been one odd job film.
Yeah. I mean, I had never heard of the existence of this job, or like, yeah, the fact that you may need to keep monkeys out. I mean, it wasn't in my.
No, yeah, we realized, no, that's why, because Republic Day and all, you should see the officials who are dealing with this. Everybody's getting hyperactive, but these guys are hyperventilating, because one monkey will come and get into some VIP enclosure and they'll be like just paranoid about this. It's very, very funny. And you realize because they are really stressed and they're saying, yeah, you think this is funny, nobody's supporting us, we are trying to do this, then those judges will say to us, okay, Indira Gandhi says this to us, what do we do? And they were like really agitated. So it's something we thought that this is the flavor of the film. There has to be seriousness about the whole film, but it has to be funny.
Yeah.
It has to be serious, done seriously with a certain kind of gravity, but it has to be like very funny.
You struck a very fine balance. It was very, 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 very effective.
I just realized something that both of you, you in Gully Boy Zoya and Prateek in Eeb, you've both kind of shown love with that headphone sharing. That's when it strikes you that these guys are an item. Like even in Gully Boy and even in it's an unexpected similarity.
Intimacy in public spaces is what we're always trying to figure out. Like,
yeah.
Lesson.
So it was lovely to meet you.
Same here, Zoya. Thank you.
Yeah. And are you based in Bombay? Are you in Delhi?
I'm in Bombay.
You're in Bombay. So I'll definitely meet you once we are more COVID
friendly. Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, thank you for making time for us, and thank you for.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Smriti.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adna.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Jio MAMI Mumbai Film Festival and hit the bell icon to keep yourself updated on conversations on Storytellers Are Us, the origin story.